I think, what you said really resonates deeply. Inclusion is a mindset, right? You have to think inclusive. And when it comes to, special attributes, many of us, like you pointed out, do not have certain things, right? I definitely cannot sing, and that is, if that can be classified as a disability, I would enroll for that. But so very, very strong points and a very strong, case for why we should look at inclusion as a business imperative. I'll now, move to a slightly different industry. I'm going to hand the mic to Usha, who's GM Corporate Planning, NMDC Limited. And this is hardcore manufacturing sector, right? I mean, you represent the mining sector. And I think that is the different attribute that you bring to this discussion, where a lot of us work for the knowledge industry, and we have it way easier if you actually look at inclusion as an agenda. I want to understand from you, Usha, what is it that you feel? How can inclusion work in an industry like mining, where people with disability, women, and many other categories, right, you'd find it a challenge integrating them into the mainstream?
Thank you, Priyanka. Is the mic working?
Yeah, we can
Yes. So yes, manufacturing and the core manufacturing is certainly a different ball game altogether. When you think of the assignments, what you have. When we talk of stretch assignments at Wipro or Deloitte or any consultancy or IT firm, and when you talk of the stretch assignments, what we have in manufacturing sector, that is, I have worked previously in Steel Authority of India Limited, so I bring experience from a steel company and also a mining company. Well, NMDC Limited is the largest iron ore miner in the country. Where even, as I was telling you, one instance, for example, when I joined NMDC as general manager, I wanted to go and visit the mines. So I don't know whether you all are aware, NMDC's mines are in Chhattisgarh, in Dantewada region, which is the most moist affected areas also. And the remoteness is such that if you land up at Raipur by flight, and then it takes at least 8 hours to reach by car. 8 hours is the journey time, and there is no shortcut to it. No, other than chartered planes, what you have, there is no other way you can reach there. And once I've decided to go there, that itself horrified my seniors. And they said, "Are you sure you want to go there? Are you sure you want to spend a week there?" I said, "Sir, the company's bread and butter is coming there. Let me at least live there for a week and see how life is there." But believe me, it was cut short by 3 days because they were not sure of my security. And in the morning, like if I would like to go out for a walk, it was really becoming a nuisance kind of thing there. That kind of remoteness is there, and their working there has its own challenges. Similarly, for the steel industry, manufacturing sector, when I was much younger, so I also, I was pestering my seniors that I have to work in the steel melting shop. What am I an engineer for when I do not work for the core, area of the company? Then I remember an instance when the senior came, the head of the department of steel melting shop came and told me, "Usha, I really appreciate what you're saying, but you know what? We take a lot of pride because we are working for steel melting shop. And then once we post there, we know you can do a good job there. But you know, what will people say? Arey, steel to ye ladkiyan bhi bana leti hain. So ye to mardon ka kaam hai." Basically, he was discouraging me because he didn't want me to work 24 in shifts. Maybe it will be only A and B shift, that is like 10 to 10, 6 to 10, which we could work, and not the night shift. But still, because of the heat, dust, and the kind of atmosphere which is there, it's difficult for women to survive there. For basics, we have to struggle. So coming to the, can I have the presentation, please? So I wanted to start from the larger picture. the larger picture where I know we have all discussed gender, I think last 1.5 days you have been discussing that. But I just, to summarize it some way, I want to start from the larger picture and see that where we are, the gender, and then come to some specific problems what we have in our own industry and how we can move forward. No, sorry. Next slide. This, yes. So, where are the women leaders? Let's start from the global picture. So, I'd say that in politics, worldwide, we are like 1 in 5 in the parliament. But when we talk of at the board level, whether it's the world or the Indian picture, we are not even doing as well as we are doing in the parliament. The next slide, please. So in political leadership scenario, India has around 11% parliamentarians who are women, and with certain regulations which different countries have made, the representation in some of the countries have gone up. But when we come to the women boards position in India, in different sectors, in sectors like manufacturing, we are just 6%. And this also includes the family businesses, where women are there on the board on account of their lineage. Next, please. And we all know about the leadership pipeline, which is leaky, especially for women. So the worldwide, if 53% of new hires are women, when we come to the VP level, we go down to 26%. And when we come to the CEO level, 3% of the Fortune 500 CEOs are women. And India's position, I think we are just half what the world has. So we start with around 28%. And when we come to the middle level, we are left with around 15%. And we know the reasons which is for that. And then at the senior level, we really come down even less. And with now the new mandate has come for at least one woman on the board of companies, which in some ways helping a lot, because there is certainly they're scouting for talent at the feeder cadre, which itself is quite not very common. That also is a challenge. But then people don't think that there's any shortcut. You have to go the hard way. You have to go up the hard way only. Only when you fulfill all the conditions, and also you are subjected to much higher scrutiny because you are very few at even the feeder cadre level. And as we talked about inclusion of the physically challenged, similarly for women too, it's business case, all that we invest in our women careers. Research and all the research from Harvard Business Review or McKinsey, everyone has said that once you have 3 or more women on board, then companies have given higher, there have been return on equity has been higher. There is this better return on investment capital. There is better return on sales, and the numbers are really impressive. And leadership study says that out of 16 competencies, what leaders should possess, out of that, among among those 12 competencies, women score better. Like these are competencies like investing in themselves, or empowering their team, or relating to their team. All 12 out of 16, they score better. And 4, which is more to do with innovation, or to do with outside the networking with the outside world. All these are the parameters. Only 4 out of 16 in which women leaders are marginally behind their men. But in spite of that, we have the picture, what we have. So now I wanted to come to, like, what are the challenges and what are the reasons? These reasons we can group into 3 spheres. And one large sphere is the individual capability and readiness. Whether we are ready for the stretch assignments, for the business travels, we're investing in ourselves, whether we have the confidence. You know, if leaders are personified as someone who have to be assertive, have to be aggressive, who have to be ambitious, then why, if women exhibit these qualities, why should they be called bitch? And it's the women who actually say that they are not seen in good light. When you have all these qualities, when you are growing younger, your own family doesn't encourage it. So, you know, it's a very good saying that next time when your daughter bosses around, you don't say that she must curb these traits. You must encourage it, because this is leadership quality and not being unlike her. It's not being like a girl. Have government rules. Child care leave, which is now in our company, in both NMDC and here in SAIL, we had 1 year leave, which is like fully paid leave. And then you come back and even your promotion is not affected. So which is quite unheard even in private sector, I would say. All these encouragement is there. But then, whether that fire in the belly remains when you come back, how your priorities change, then it says, again we come back to our own, that personal sphere. But organizational, that kind of compassion and that rules and regulations are there, which gives you a framework. And certainly the third big sphere is the networking and the visibility, which we tend to ignore for a very long time. And when we notice it, it's perhaps too late to actually catch up with all this. So, coming to the manufacturing gender gap, here are the big challenges. You know, it is very difficult to take up the key assignments in this sector. Because if the key assignment is production 24/7 in such adverse condition, then which women can think 30 years later that you have to become the managing director of this company? So you must work on the shop floor, where you do not, for 15 kilometers, you have to drive 15 kilometers to even go to a decent toilet. Even though investment has to be made and efforts are being made, but then the kind of facilities which we are used to is difficult to come at the shop floor. But things are changing. But it is changing very, very, very slowly. The second is, you know, the support and the compassion what you get at each stage in life, you know, that is discrimination at a subconscious level. You realize it much later. Now, suppose if I have to travel, I have to stay back late. My all other colleagues are staying up till 10 o'clock in the night because a job has to be completed. Then people will say, "Nee, Usha, tum chali jao. Hum log manage kar lenge." But if you do that 25 days in a month, then who is going to give you important assignment? It is my assignment, I will study. It is my lookout how I'm going to go home. Because every day the company is not going to make special arrangement for me. I cannot appear to be special in every way. So, and it is so easy to be caught in this compassion. Where people are actually being nice, and you cannot doubt their intention also. But then, negating this, seeing the bigger picture that I cannot be a person, I have to compete on equal terms. If I want equal growth opportunities, I have to slog equally. So it comes very hard way. And also because there are no very, very few role models. You know, even in banking, or even in IT and all, we have women the CEOs whom you can look up to. In manufacturing, you know, you have started to have some people in HR, in marketing also, but I don't know anyone who is the CEO, the managing director of a steel plant who's a woman, or director production or director projects. Somehow, even if you are a metallurgist or if you are a mechanical engineer, you are not, it's difficult for you to be accepted as that leader in, in these organizations. Here two things have to change, but when you have very few women, like less than, in less than 1% who would even come to this GM and above level position, so going to 1-2 levels higher becomes the climb becomes even more steep. So that's all. I would say that how to bridge the challenges. It's the organization is certainly there which has to work on this aspect, but the individual is the key. I believe in what is in your hand, you have to focus on that. And what we have in our hand is our own effort, and we have to go bit by bit, and that's how we can conquer. Thank you.
Thanks, Sosha. I think, what I take away from what you just said is one has to sort of be willing to break the mold, right, to take that step forward, because a lot of it is to do with conditioning, right? So if you're conditioned to think that you need there is only a certain mold you have to, adhere to, or a certain framework you have to be in, I think you're going to limit yourself, right? But at the same time, I think safety is important. It's really important in today's context, and organizations in the knowledge sector, organizations that we work with, are doing a lot in that area. And I'm assuming, even in the manufacturing sector, should those steps be taken, we will see an increase in the presence of women across all, bands and levels. The other thing that I sort of, took away from what you all said is a solution-minded approach, right? If I want it, I will think of a solution and I will think of a way of getting it, right?
To add is the laws of the land have to get a little more relaxed, because I mean in the manufacturing sector, typically women can't work after 6 p.m. if they are especially factory workers. So those kind of rules and mindset should change, which means they have to change the Factories Act. And there's a lot of both political and social pull against making those fundamental changes, so it can't be inclusive in that sense.
Right. And I think the key imperative to do that will probably be an economic imperative, if I know business leaders really well. Because, I think most of us would have read the McKinsey report that said, I don't know if I have the figure right, is it $7 trillion from the economy is going missing because we are not engaging women in the workforce, right? I don't know if that figure is right. Was it 7 trillion or, was it a figure larger than that? But yeah, that seems to be, at least the economic imperative of not losing out on this large pool of talent. I will now, invite Vijaya Deepti, who's the Global Head of Insurance Products with TCS. Vijaya, lovely to meet up with you again. And we've met at another forum, which was very similar in nature. I would like to now move the discussion to a slightly different dimension, which essentially talks about, nationality and culture, right? And what organizations are doing. And TCS is an organization very similar to Wipro in the sense that, we are, today, the face of the organization is largely Indian, right? But we want to have a global presence. We want to be looked at as local employers in the countries we operate in. So how is it that, organizations can take affirmative actions in those areas? And, also people with disability. I know that TCS has done a lot of work in that space as well. Yeah, so in that sequence.
Thank you, Priyanka, for this. Actually, I thought before I start off with, sharing my own personal experiences of what TCS has been doing, I'd like to invite my colleague here, Sampath Kumar. So Sampath has been a part of the TCS organization, and he was driving a lot of his own personal, he's very, very committed to working with marginalized, with minority communities, with tribals and so on. And he's been a source of inspiration for to a lot of us in TCS. He was a part of the TCS level affirmative action and also the Tata Group affirmative action. So Sampath, and I'd like to invite you to share a few words of what you have been doing with the with TCS and with the Tata Group, and then, I'll go on to share my own experience.
You've got the mic coming.
You can use mine.
Thanks, Deepti. I mean, last night when she suddenly asked, would you like to come and share? I asked the topic's name and it said gender, and I have no knowledge about the gender-related activities which we have done in TCS. In the sense, as a person who's part of TCS, I knew when I worked there. I retired in last year. Subsequently, I remain as an advisor for Tata Sons on the affirmative action, which I have been associated with, like she said. Some of the key takeaways, as I was listening to many of them, having women, I was part of her team, and possibly because of her, I continued all my journey, Otherwise, many other person would have said that, why are you wasting your time? Which is one of the common things which people ask. So diversity celebration perhaps comes for women more naturally than men. I have been part of and also do some steering activity on the affirmative action side, which is a completely different domain, what we have been discussing. But it's in the larger umbrella of diversity. People have been saying people with disabilities themselves can form a nation because there are so many. In India, everything is size, isn't it? And if you take the affirmative action community, which we largely focus at the Sons level, Tata Sons level on scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, it's about 25%. It's about 30 crores. And it's much bigger than, it seems if that were to be looked at like that, it will be the